Peace, family, peace. This is my first actual live, and I felt like it was time for me to start demonstrating, in the public, for those who may not have a knowledge of who I am. I come as a man of no reputation, but I also go by the title Swift Angel number 4. And I have a few measures I would like to bring on the manifest to my family out there. And this is special live stream is dealing with my people are destroyed for a lack of unity, and freedom is not a game. And the reason I want to bring this special measure forth is give my family a little clarity, because I've been seeing uh, a lot going on in social media, and we often deal with what I like to call it the pitfall of human knowledge, because we're in the age of the know, and everyone is doing research, everyone's studying. There's so much information out here in the internet to people are going every and which way but up. And when I say but up, I'm talking about here. And basically, you can become anything it is that you want to become if you come into contact with whatever information it is that suits the taste of your intelligence. You see? And we can go into the religious aspect, we can go into a political aspect, we can go into, many different fields of information. You can learn many things that are helpful to uplift you and so forth and so on. But, I don't want to do the preaching aspect. I just want to touch on a few things. One of them that I have noticed is now you having what I would call this clicking mindset when it comes to dealing with information. Something that was never done before. Everybody always dealt with, certain people here and there if they was in a particular group or whatever, group thinking. But now, I always call it, especially when you're dealing with religion, religious gang banging, political gang banging. We can go in many different areas, when it comes to our family out here now. And I don't judge our people for that. I just always been one that deal with common ground. And I stand upon being the bridge, so to speak, where you have normally gaps. And how do you bridge the gap, especially when you deal with the people that have been through 400 years of odd slavery, so to speak? Some people may feel like that they have not been in bondage. Some people may feel like, they've been living free the whole while. But it's basically depending on your definition of what freedom is. Just because you feel that you are free to think and free to act, are you truly free to think and free to act? For example, if you was in a job place, could you truly be yourself? Could you express who you really are? Or do you have to leave that at home and then come forth and demonstrate? So when we think about being free thinkers, if you feel uncomfortable with expressing the way that you demonstrate, you feel uncomfortable with letting people know who it is that you are, what you represent, and what you stand on, then you are not a free thinker. And most of our people feel to be a free thinker will bring adversaries or enemies to you. And that's all good and well. A lot of times a wise man or woman will use truth, even to their advantage, especially, for example, if I would like to have people that may not be on the same wavelength that I am, not be a part and parcel of my circle, all you have to do, and you should try this sometime, speak to them on a knowledgeable basis and watch how that basically moves certain people out of your circle. And this is why I'm saying it's necessary to be a free thinker now. So when you think free, you will always cause those who are not on the same wavelength that you are to feel uncomfortable. I'm not trying to tell you to be somebody just mean and don't be friendly or whatever, don't be a people's person. But the truth is a protection, it's a sword. If you look at the word sword, and if you were to basically take the word, uh, itself and just remove the S and place it on the end of the word, then you have words, right? So words are often sharp as a sword. And so this is your defense, just speaking truth, being the truth, speaking truth to power. We have to practice that and be genuine, because now we live in a world to where we have to live double lives. You got to place yourself in this particular situation and make it seem as if you're this way, and then now it's almost like the Superman syndrome, in the booth, out the booth, and so I'm one that walked the straight and narrow, and I encourage my family out here to do the same. Be you, because this is how you will discover the truth that is in you. No man or woman that is here, in creation on earth, nobody that's here that exists right now has not the potential in them to be something that is great. But we have to tap into that which is within us. Some people might call it God. Some people might say the Most High. Some people might say a higher power. Some people might say, Jehovah, Yahweh, Allah. Some people might deal whatever path you deal with. People use different terminology, but it all has to do with the self. We have to have a knowledge of ourselves. And once you have a knowledge of yourself, then you can avoid the pitfalls of the knowledge of those who are other than yourself. Because now people use information to enslave you. They use information to dominate you. They use information to have a one-up on you. Everything is competition. And this is why I said freedom is not a game. You see? Now, some of our people, again, they may believe that they are free. But are you truly free? Do what you have, rather what you seek to obtain. Do you think that you will have that for the duration? Or do you think that it will be temporary? Whether it be somebody that you may be in a relationship with, whether it be a business that you might have established, whether it be a particular movement that you may have begin to build and plant seeds to bring into existence. These are questions now. Are we dealing with a temporary gratification, or are we dealing with a measure from the long haul? Because this has to do with something that denotes what is truly that which shows that you are a free individual, or you are basically being misled by your own, we'll say, a misleading thought that is in your own consciousness, so to speak. So we have to learn how to basically tap into the essence of what's in us. That's what I'm getting at. It's a lot. We're in a turbulent time period right now. It's very rough out here, right? So I like to do it this way because I don't let things in my surroundings really bother me too much. I encourage my family when they ask me and they see me moving through the world, and they say, "Man, how you do it? I want to know what you know." And it inspires me to continue in the pathway that I'm walking, basically, because here's a stranger that don't know who you are, and they are being inspired by you. So you never know who you are inspiring along the way. You see? And they would say, "Man, what is it that you do? What is it that you know?" And I just tell them simply, just exist, just be me. Let nature take its course. See, that's another thing too. To truly be a free thinker, you have to allow nature to take its course. Understanding when things are not in the realms of your control. Certain things are not meant to be fixed. And certain things may not even be broken. But sometimes we go out of the way and we make conditions worse than they have to be because we continue to press on and push the narrative, so to speak. And this is where we bring more energy, negative energy, and conflict to ourselves than we set out to have in the beginning. And this is why we have conflict amongst ourselves as a people, because most people, again, are looking for happiness outside of themselves. You see? So the first thing you have to do is become a mastermind if you want to talk about unity. Because if everybody is thinking on oneness, then you can't help but be one. You see? If everybody is thinking on being united, you can't help but be united. Everybody have to have minds that are for the same cause, efforts that are for the same goals. This is if you're part of anything. I'm speaking particularly, to the people, of my culture at this particular time, because we seem to have a problem with coming together, based upon anything. By the time you come up with a blueprint or a plan of something, someone is trying to misdirect the course and go in another direction. All for the sake of basically saying, well, I'm a free thinker. You see? All for the sake of saying, well, this is my original thought. But we don't have that same thought when we are dealing with those who are basically oppressing us. We don't have that same thought when it deals with those who are not looking out for our best interests. It is only when we come together we feel like we too grown to know something. We too grown to learn something. You see, or this person can't tell me nothing. And so, we always look for the negative, and that basically derails whatever plan it is that one sets out to demonstrate. Whatever it is, you say, okay, all right, we're going to go out here today and just say we're going to rally up and we're going to go up in a particular area, to uplift the people. Before you can get on the measure of demonstrating that, it's a conflict about, well, how we going to get there? We should take this route over here. Who ain't got this and who ain't got that? Small stuff now. And then that become into a big conflict. And now you don't forgot basically why you even set out on the journey in the first place. And it's almost as if there's a illness, within the mind state of the people. You see, or if you even ask or speak, well, I think we need to demonstrate self-determination. What people will say, well, why is it necessary that we demonstrate self-determination? I don't think we can do that anyway, because this gonna happen and that's gonna happen. So you are murdering or killing the thought of liberation before the thought of liberation takes root. You see, and if you keep going on like this in a cycle over and over and over and over again, you will never elevate beyond the station or the state or the condition that you are currently in. Because what it is that doubt is loop mode in your mindset. Soon as somebody says something to you, doubt is already there. So that kills the unity right there, right? So that's why I say my people are destroyed for a lack of unity. And also, I was actually kind of playing off of the measure my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, but we hear that all the time. There's plenty of information out here, plenty of knowledge out here, you see, but is that knowledge the truth? That's a whole nother measure, because information, though information can be good, information has also caused division, again, amongst the people. I can give you a prime example. Within any religious system you can think of, you will see conflict, not with just other religious teaching, but within that particular teaching itself. You have Christians that don't get along with Christians. You got Muslims that don't get along with Muslims, right? You got you got basically you have people that don't get along with people in every walk of life that you can think about. So it's everybody. It's not one particular group. Uh, we ain't calling individuals out or nothing like that. It's everybody that has a problem when it comes to unity, except the people that seem as if uh, they don't care nothing about unity anyway. And I'm talking about the people that want to keep you divided. Seem like they can stand on a common goal to keep you divided in your mind state. I call it a demarcated thought pattern. You see? So just dealing with that special aspect, family, if we can get out of a demarcated thought pattern and think of oneness, that's a grand principle. Because in every religious belief, if you ask me, everybody have some teaching where they talk about unity. So just imagine if everybody in the world met each other and based upon that particular principle and say, all right, but regardless of what name we use, or whatever we state that we stand on, let's just take the principle of unity that we all believe on and hold that dear to ourselves and come to the table and establish, something for our people. That's hard for people to do in most cases, but it's simple because people say, well, the problem is that we lack financial stability. We lack, education. We lack the necessary tools, that are needed in order for us to be established as a people. But, this is a good one right here. We can vote our way out of bondage. We can vote our way, out of slavery. I mean, how long we been doing that? You see, we should be, because many people are tired of even hearing anything about a religious doctrine. So we should be as tired of voting as we are tired of any religious doctrine. You see? And I ain't saying, I'm criticizing you for doing whatever you do, but I'm saying don't limit yourself. You see what I'm saying? Just because you feel like you got the politician that's in place that you feel he needs to be there, you still got to do work yourself. We got to get out of this waiting for pie to fall out the sky syndrome. We got to get out of this welfare recipient like mentality, waiting for somebody to do for us what we can do for ourselves. You see, we have to get off the breast milk, you see? And we have to basically unfold and stand up on our own 2 feet and tap into that divinity or that source within you, whatever you call it. And when you see your family, when I say your family, I'm talking about everybody. I don't care what you believe, what you stand on. Then you should see that same divinity in them that you see in yourself. And if you can see that, I guarantee you that in itself will bring a positive vibration to a people where they're able to be uplifted from the condition that you see them in. You see? So all of us have gifts of understanding. That's another thing too. We have to learn how to respect each other's gifts. You see, there are certain things that those of you who will see this, that those that will be in the sound of my voice after you hear this, there are certain things that you know that I don't know. There are certain things that I know that you don't know. There's certain knowledge that we all have, but the key is being able to pool your mental resources and bring them together as a collective to uplift the whole. See, that's key. And that's when you see now, instead of your people being destroyed for a lack of unity, now they can begin to build, because a wise man once stated, what you don't know can build a nation. You see, and I ain't gonna get into that special aspect at this particular time, because we don't want to alienate, our people, because a lot of time you can't even mention a master teacher or a mastermind without our people not being able to hear. So we don't want to scare you off right now, right? You know, because it's all about oneness. I'm not here to proselytize and try to convert you to what I stand on. You know, you can see in my background, you know, everything that represent me, you know, but don't prejudge me by what you see back there because I'm very well rounded. And when I say that, I'm talking about well rounded to the extent to where I am very unbiased when it comes to what other people believe. Because if it make you greater, if it makes you better, then that's the key. It doesn't matter, you know, what you received along the way. But if it makes you better, then that's key. That's what we want. You know, that's the grand draw. The key is being able to meet at the peak or the apex or, you know, the point of unity. And you got all four corners. And you got, for example, a Muslim here. You got, you know, somebody that say they may be a Hebrew here. You know, you got a Christian here, you know, Buddhist here, whatever the case may be, right? And all of these special ones were crawling up to the pinnacle because they say, well, God is here, you know, at the top, right? At the peak. But they didn't know because the pyramid is so large on each corner that they were at each corner of this special pyramid. They thought that they were the only ones that were climbing, you know, to this particular pinnacle. Every one of these particular ones from their beliefs, you see, because they feel like, you know, I'm climbing, you know, the stairway into heaven or whatever the case may be. And once they get to the top, they recognize that they are the only ones there. You see, I'm the only one here, nobody but me. But you was climbing into heaven, right? But God is in you all the while, right? We can use that like the little parable they give in the Bible, or what they call the Piscean records, when they say, "No, you're not the the temple of God, and the Spirit of God dwelling within you," right? Which temple you are. So here you are standing at the peak. Now everybody else ain't made it there yet. You by yourself. You see? And you looking, and next thing you know, somebody else come up, coming from their particular pathway, and now they're up there with you as well. But they was looking for the same divinity you was looking for. But it led them there. Now they coming from different, pretty much four people in this same area, but they came from many different directions, and they was given a divine map. We can call it a holy book. And that holy book is what led them on that journey, and they ended up there. So how is it that the book of truth that they were given, coming from different directions, led them to one point of unity if they were supposed to be so different? I'm just trying to simplify it and make it plain and give you an example on how it is when you're dealing with the truth. You see? And so you would have to then embrace everyone that is there with you, because you knowing that you was led there by the truth, and if they was there, they felt they was led by the truth, they would all have to come to the conclusion that they was guided by the same force and the same source. You see? Just like that. This is how you have to think about unity. You know, and it was written in a particular book. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, which way you turn, wherever you turn, is the presence of, don't use the particular name of the creator. Those who have wisdom know what I'm referring to. Also, it was said that, you know, it doesn't matter which pathway you come through, to each and every one of you, your goal is to the same source. That's written somewhere. I leave that to those who have the wisdom to know that. And we'll get into it later when people start asking me questions about these things. Because I won't be a stranger here. I'm going to keep bringing this measure to the manifest. It's time for me to bring my portion forth. You know, after all of the darkness and after all of the conflict that I have seen in regards to dealing with information, you know, I want to be the one to bridge the gap and try to bring unity to these people. And oftentimes, when you're trying to bridge the gap and bring unity, most of the time you still end up running into conflict along the way. But that should never change you. That should never move you from your particular mission. And there are many things that I really had to bring to the manifest, but I just won't go into those things just yet. You know, we're going to get there. I just want to talk about this unity and the pitfalls of this human understanding. All of us supposed to be mastermind. Nothing wrong with seeking knowledge. None of that right there. But when your knowledge becomes a hindrance to your progress, that's a problem. That's like a bad drug, right? Is that even possible for your knowledge to become a hindrance to your progress? I mean, because after all, we are told that knowledge is power, right? So knowledge should never be a hindrance to your progress, right? Knowledge. You see? And so these are critical questions that we must ask ourselves. And one of the greatest things that we can do as a people is study ourselves. We know everything about everything outside of ourselves. We need to study ourselves as individuals, and we need to study ourselves as a collective body. Because many of people can tell you about, man, they'll go into rocket science, you know, they'll talk about everything outside of themselves, but they can't even tell you how they are structured. They can't tell you, you know, how the cellular level of their being vibrates. They can't tell you anything about how their brain functions, even though they may think that they're a mastermind, master thinker. You know, some of them might even say, well, I'm a guru or whatever. You know, what is the unity that causes this body, or the unity that causes creation to continue to function in a harmonious fashion that we don't really even care to observe? What is that? See, let's go beyond the aspects of dealing with dogmatism and religion. I'm talking about being able to read the book of creation. Because when you become truly a mastermind, you are able to read your scripture or your particular teaching in creation. You see, this is the level that we should be on. We have to study nature. This is something that the ancients did. If you go into any ancient civilization or any ancient culture, the harmony that they gained was based upon them being able to be harmonious with nature, be one with nature. And in being one with that nature, you know, and studying nature, they were able to master their environment and get everything that they needed out of their environment. And they was basically became more advanced in most cases than some of us have become in this era in time. How is that even possible? There are certain things that were built by people, we already know the story, in ancient times, that the world by a so-called quote unquote primitive people, as they called them, right? Or were they? See, that's a whole nother measure in and of itself. So when we go into this special aspect of, you know, unity, we have to be at one with ourselves. We got to be at one with the source, whatever source that we call the creator. That's where your oneness. A lot of people on a religious level, they'll call that monotheism. You see, true monotheism is being one with the creator being one, but you being one with the creator and being one with creation. That's the highest degree of monotheism to me. You see, through my research, right? And I'm talking about researching all different texts. I ain't talking about favoring one particular book over another. You know, so man has corrupted his ability to unfold into his greatest potential. And this is because, we talk about how everybody's being dumbed down, but people are choosing to accept to be dumbed down. To be dumbed down is the trend now. If you ain't dumbed down, then something is wrong with you. At least that's how they look at you, right? Because you crazy, you weird, you out the box. You see? So we live now in the trend or the culture of a dumbed down society. They don't want to think. They want that microwave. They want that microwave, we'll say handout demonstration. You know how quick it is, just like that right there, instant grits or whatever it is that you get. And that's how the people want it now. They don't want to earn it, they don't want to strive for it. And that's why now, for example, with the age of information, people don't even have to read. All they got to do is look at a couple of documentaries and then they think that they are scholars, right? And they will hold certain things as the gospel because somebody said it. So just because you become proficient in a particular area and you become a master in the of knowledge, of everything. But some people will delude themselves and everybody outside of them don't know nothing. And one thing that I learned early in life, and I'm gonna end it in a little bit, in a few minutes actually, is that to know is to know that you don't know. And once you come into that special thought pattern, you can continue to grow. But anytime you feel like you know and you can't be told, that's where you stagnate yourself. That's where you can't continue to unfold. And I always said I don't want to be that person that get up into a certain age period and you know how it is, that person that's sot in their ways, you can't tell them nothing. So we have to have some humility about ourselves. We can't have unity without humility. Humility is key. And most of us will only be humble when something is at stake. Why can't we have the integrity to be humble? Because it's the nature and good to be humble. Why do somebody have to, most cases, humble us? Why do we have to be forced into humility? You see, because anytime you are forced into humility by somebody outside of you, that's a form of submission. So then you'll basically end up, whether you know it or not, you begin to worship whoever that is that's influencing you, and you don't even know it. So, in other words, I'm talking about the fear that you have for losing, a particular status in society, the fear of losing your livelihood, the fear of losing a so-called circle of friends. When you do that right there, that's basically accepting your fear as your God, basically. And so submission to that special fear, cause you to become an idol worshiper, adulteress, and don't even know it. When you going into what the world thinks about you, as opposed to what your purpose is. Each and every one of us have a purpose. See, I may be successful in a particular area, or you may be successful in a particular area, but my success is not your success, and nor is your success my success. Now we can inspire each other, but just because you were successful doesn't mean that I will succeed in that same field that you are in. Though I can receive inspiration from that, I can learn from that. And that's why I say many of our people like to follow trend. They think because you did it or I did it, then they got to go that same route. But what I have found is the more innovative that you are, the greater, that you can have an impact. And we would say the more come to you that way. It's always good to be the first, but don't be somebody else's first. because people like to be somebody else's first. How about being your own first? You see? So we as a people have to, again, tap into ourselves. We have to become one with the force and the source, the essence of ourselves, and truly come into the love of self. Because if you don't know self, you can't love what you don't know, right? And so once we come into a love of self and a knowing of the self, then we can demonstrate a collective love with each other as a people. And we can uplift each other out of the condition that we find ourselves in. So, like I said, I don't want to be long. This is just my first live, and they're going to get better. This is just a critical thought pattern, on my people are destroyed for a lack of unity. Freedom is not a game. Freedom is not a game. We're not here to merely just exist in competition with each other. You see? So, I mean, if we are, then what are we competing for? What can a people subjugated possibly achieve by competing with each other, being in opposition to each other? What is it that we possibly can obtain along the way? I don't know. Maybe y'all can tell me something. I'm willing to learn. I'm always open for insight. So I just want to salute your family. And this is just my first portion. And we'll come forth with many more here and there periodically. You'll see a lot more of us. And we're going to get into some deep conversations as well. But I just want to say, whatever the case may be, stay safe. Be a true free thinker. Think outside of the box. Be you. And unfold into the greatest that is within you. Because it's in you. Like a wise man once told me in a simple way, like ragu. It's in there. So be good, family. And I just say peace and love and salute to you. Salutations. Whatever you stand on, may you be peaceful. And as the Comedian ancestors would say, Unquajet Senel, life, health, and prosperity be upon you. Salute.